what is going to fit here. In terms of the process we run, I've met individually with council members to get their comments and thoughts. Tonight's a very important meeting as we get your comments and thoughts. After this, we'll put together a draft profile, which will come back to the full council to review and approve, and that will kick off the search process. That takes a number of forms. We do typical advertising. City Managers Association is a place we post. Western Cities is something that most every public sector employee in the Western states is going to take a look at. There's any number of professional job sites we post, but most importantly, we do customized outreach. Based on the information we've received from the council, the information we get from you tonight, we'll have an extensive outreach, which is a little bit low tech. It's actually telephone calling literally hundreds of people to try and find the right person for this particular job. Once we do that and get our applications in, we have several layers of screening. First is paper. People will apply who are Starbucks baristas and the like, so we don't spend a whole lot of time working on them. But for individuals who have more promise, we do telephone interviews, and then finally, before I would recommend anyone to the city council, I would have a face-to-face interview them, have very extensive discussions about their thoughts, their approach, their accomplishments, and what their skill set is like. When that's done, come back and meet with the full council to review the applications. I'll be recommending finalists. They will either approve them or modify them. And then from there, we'll go to the selection process will take place here at the city. That the council will determine that as we get farther down the road. So tonight I'm here above all else to listen to what you have to say. We're recording this so that we can make sure we can keep all your comments and go back and take another look if necessary. And once we complete tonight's meeting, we'll go on to the next steps. So once again, thank you for coming. This is important and I appreciate your time. So I think we're using the city's standard process in terms of public input. We'll go through the speaker cards. There is a 3-minute limit on comments, which hopefully will be enough. Although we will also set up a dedicated email. We'll get that publicized on the city's website. So if anyone wants to submit additional comments or thoughts, there'll be a special email set up which will come directly into my office and we'll be able to collect them that way as well. So the first card I have is from Tracy Phillips.
Good evening and thank you for being here this evening to help lead our city in this process. My name is Tracy Phillips. I'm the CEO of the Hueneme Chamber of Commerce. And while I expect tonight you will hear many different inputs at many different degrees of concern, I'm approaching my comments in twofold. One as the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce and the other as a longtime resident of the city of Port Hueneme. So my concerns, both as a resident and as the CEO, center around economic development, somebody that can come in and help promote our city and bring the businesses that are desperately needed to fill our storefronts. Somebody who can come in and promote a sense of a community, build upon the uniqueness that is the friendly city by the sea. Capitalize on our assets, tourism, bring people to our beach. Key qualities that I would look for: somebody who is balanced, somebody with integrity, no disrespect to any of the past city managers that have been fortunate enough to work in our community, but I do think that that is very key. Someone who has a unifying presence and somebody that can help build a vision for our future, working with our council and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellis Green.
I have to wait for my boss. Ellis Green and Joel Shamoff, 2500 Seafoam Court. Good evening and thank you, and good evening to the residents and council members that are here present. I do appreciate this opportunity. I'm glad that the council has saw fit to add this phase in. I thought Tracy Phillips outlined a very good critique of what the considerations should be for the new next city manager. And I want to reiterate that. I want to reiterate the fact that the person has to have the skills to solve critical financial and business decisions for the city. They need to be very experienced. This is not a place for someone to be training on the job. We need someone that's gonna be glad to be here, not someone that didn't make it someplace else, or that have some hankering that they wanna toy with the community, just try to hone their skills and make themselves attractive someplace else. I know that's gonna be a tall order, but I do urge the council to, at all times, to stay focused and remember that the best interest of the city, the community, and its residents, like this little guy here, are put paramount to any other considerations for it. So, with that said, I hope that you, as a recruitment company, will help to guide the council and provide them with the best resource pool so that we can get somebody that's fully functioning and capable of leading this city out of this morass. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning here. Okay, I'm having a little trouble with handwriting. It's better than mine, I'll say, but Rita.
Sure, Rita.
Ah, there we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No.
Good evening, my name is Rita Torrido. I am a 33-year resident here and also an employee of the City of Port Hueneme. I'm just gonna run down my laundry list of items that I feel are important in the new city manager. Strong work ethic, lead by example. Demand strong work ethic from upper management and the entire organization. Morals, a team player, not out for their own agenda. Be a good character reader to find a replacement for our interims. Personable, willing to listen from the bottom up, not from the top down or the top only. Experience with broken agencies with low morale. Strong, accountability for him or herself and the entire organization. Ability to deal with conflict. Here for the long haul, through thick and thin, not just to pad their retirement. Ability to glean the truth out of a conversation or a situation, see through and dismiss the blah, blah, blah. Willing to work with our community to make it a better place to live. A genuine want to fix the dire financial situation without causing more decline in morale. Fairness in monetary and promotional potential in all workers, not just the upper management. Allow employees to speak without the intimidation of retaliation. Above all, respect others and demand respect from others and between others. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for yours. Baltazar Tapia.
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Baltazar Tapia. I'm president of the Port Hueneme Police Officers Association. With me are current board members, Vice President Michael Hamrick, Treasurer Michael Galvan, Secretary Francisco Montalongo, and Association Board Member Eric Starna. We are present today as a result of the search for the new city manager for the city of Port Hueneme. As a board, we believe that the new city manager should foster an organizational climate that attracts, retains, and develops talent within the city, as well as facilitates and sustains positive labor relations. A city manager who is a long-term replacement, willing to develop revenue ideas, is experienced in city planning, business development, especially with the unique challenges facing the city of Port Hueneme with regards to the limited undeveloped land that we have. A city manager who is public safety minded, with working knowledge of how police department budgets work and operate to lessen the personal views of others. In closing, I'd like to say that the new city manager will have many challenges before him or her and will require a clear and unbiased look into all department operations. We are prepared to answer all questions with regard to our police officers. We will answer questions truthfully and not based on public opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Allen.
My name is Bob Allen. I live at 341 East Fiesta, Port Hueneme. Been a resident here, and it's really a wonderful town. And really, in looking at it, I put down 3 things that are really bullet points that I think are going to be required for the future. Number 1 has to be proven leadership skills. I just can't see anybody not having the ability to bring people together and figure out solutions rather than stating problems. One of the things after living, how shall I say it, in the valley for raising my children, basically when you come down that grade, it's like coming down the Mason-Dixon line in Ventura County. So I suggested somebody who really understands this West County, and the city of Port Hueneme is not, let's put it this way, it's not Carlsbad, so they have to understand what the value is here, okay? And then I think, you know, we're live streaming tonight, okay, and must have the 21st century technology knowledge. I think that is the thing that could get this whole city into a completely different environment. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you for yours. Stephen.
Figured you were gonna call me. I think a very important aspect of a city manager should be a surfer, somebody that's into the ocean, beach community. I'd like to see a city manager that's highly energetic and out and about the city as much as possible. I think that would help understand the city. I agree with Ellis Green that we do need an experienced city manager, but I also think we need somebody that can grow into the job. And I think that this beach community is very different than other beach communities. And so if we bring a highly experienced person in, they may not be open to new ways of thinking, new projects, new ideas to turn a new chapter as a city tries to get out of this general malaise that we're in. I think the city manager needs to be a collaborator, needs to be somebody that can come in and bring varying groups together of different interests. I mentioned it'd be nice if the city manager was a surfer, and I say that seriously because while out in the surf, you get to know youngsters, older people, younger people, and you get to know the community. You get to feel the vibe and know what it's all about. I've often thought that school district business officials would be excellent candidates for this job. They're highly experienced in school business, but not necessarily city business. However, the budget for your typical school district in this county is pretty big. Oxnard Union High School District's payroll is $80 million a year. And I think there's some really great local talent within the school districts who have the skill set, but not necessarily the title of city manager behind them. I think that would be a really interesting area to explore. Plus, I also know that their salaries are far less than what other city managers are demanding. And in regards to salary, I would hope that a vibrant, energetic surfing city manager would be interested in a performance-based contract so that we don't pay top dollar as a small city, but we get somebody that's committed to grow in the city, be better in the city, and have a performance-based contract. And I specifically do not want to see a candidate who's coming here just to spike their retirement. I think we really need to avoid that situation because then their heart's not in the job. They're just coming here, all I gotta do is hang out here 3 years, my retirement's set for the rest of my life. Most importantly, I just believe that collaboration skills are most important. That this manager needs to be an expert at bringing people together and having open, honest, fair dialogue to solve the problems. And I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Tama Figs. Fig.
Tama Fig.
Tama.
Thank you. I'm a 39-year resident and 39-year employee of the city. I've been, I guess, blessed and not blessed to be through 4 city managers now, and well, 5 with our interim. And certainly I have a lot of experience in dealing with these different personalities. The first thing that I think that you really should look at is a candidate that has a proven history of working with the entire council and not dividing the council into a majority and pushing through their own agenda. It's a council of 5, not of 3. Second of all, that they're prepared to deal with organizational challenges, which certainly this organization has. Morale is the lowest that I've seen it in 39 years, starting from the top all the way down. And whoever comes in is, as was mentioned by another city employee, it can't start at the top. Whoever comes in needs to start down at the bottom in the trenches to figure out why morale is the way that it is, because it's definitely suffering. People are leaving in droves. Second of all, or third of all, this person needs to have the ability to develop relationships with the outside agencies. The Port District, the School District, the Navy, and other agencies that they would be dealing with. That hasn't happened so much, and there's been a lot of contention that, has come back into the city. And so whoever it is would hopefully have that broad background with dealing with these organizations successfully, because that is a big part of who we are here. We're surrounded by them, so that's huge. Certainly a candidate that can read a budget and cut through the BS, and can report back to the council the accuracies of what that budget means, and not hiding items, getting input from every level of city staff to help make that budget not a moving target. And lastly, somebody that treats the employees with respect and actually gets out of their office and walks around and talks to the employees, and not stays behind closed doors for all their meetings, for everything, that actually knows who their city employees are by sight and by name. So I would encourage those kind of qualities.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lupe, Ontario.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Lupe Montaño, who works at organizer for SEAU 721. We represent the employees here in the city of Port Hueneme, all the ones represented from 721. And I just wanted to say on behalf of the employees that it's really important to get, to hire a city manager that really has an open door policy. In the past, I think a lot of members, what I've heard from members is that they didn't feel that managers were approachable. So that's something that's really important to employees, that they're able to talk to the city manager one-on-one. I think Tama said it correctly, that it's not somebody that just kind of closes their door and is unapproachable, a people person. They're going to be working for a city, they're public servants, so it'd be important to really focus on somebody that's got an open mind, that's willing to work with the labor groups and labor organizations. We want to be part of the solution. We want to be part of a collaborative, and it'd be important that we be involved. The members in the city of Oxnard, for example, were very involved, and the labor groups were involved in the process of hiring this new city manager, and that, up to now has been a positive experience. So I'd like to share that idea of having, through the whole interview process, it'd be important to have the community involved. I'm a resident of Port Hueneme for 13 years as well, And, I'd love to see the city of Port Hueneme thrive. And we need to find somebody that has solutions, not just ways of cutting services. Because I'm a resident and I see the impact that many cities have had when they start contracting services out and not really, developing their own staff. They have talented staff here. They're just not using the right resources in the right way. So it's important that you have somebody that is able to tap into those resources with the staff that they do have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else like to speak?
Yeah, I do.
My name's Jack McGrath. I live at 764 Ocean Breeze Drive. I've been in Port Hueneme almost 5 years now. I'm going to take a different approach to this, Mr. Avery. I'm going to suggest, under the circumstances, the city within a year is going to be gone. It's going to have to deincorporate. It's going to become part of the county. I worked in city government myself in the city of LA for over 15 years. I know government pretty well. I'm going to suggest that you keep Mr. Baker here. He's the first person I have seen in my 5 years here that knows what he's doing, has the guts to say the things that need to be said, is willing to make the cuts and not keep us from going under. So to talk about having a nice person and somebody doing the ways, that's wonderful if you have a functioning city. We don't. And we all know it, the council people that are here know it. We haven't even touched the 2.5 million HUD audit, which we may get whacked with. So I'm going to just say, I'm sure you're good at what you do, but why don't you come back in 6 months and let Mr. Baker get us straightened out, get us on the right keel, and then we can really start talking about being more functional with each other, because we're in a financial morass. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rich Rollins and I've lived in this community for 7 years. I have a kind of an interesting approach to this. Basically, the community here does not have a revenue source to keep themselves operating in an efficient manner on an ongoing basis, long-term basis. So I almost think you need somebody that's very similar to like an executive director of, say, a nonprofit. Nonprofits are constantly going out there looking for various different revenue sources. In the government, it may be grants, it may be partnerships, it may be sponsorships, whatever it is, but we need to kind of develop different types of methods to keep the community viable and to keep the quality of life high. You need somebody not necessarily that's heavily, maybe experienced in that particular field, but not necessarily an experienced city manager. I think it would be much better for a small community like this to get somebody who's energetic, that's sharp, that can maybe grow in this job. Maybe they'll move on in 2 or 3 years and they've made their mark here, and then we find somebody else who's very energetic. I think that a good city manager needs to value its employees, make them feel valued. But at the same time, I think it's important for the staff to develop a priority that they're responsive to their citizens. I think they need to establish, right from the beginning, measurable goals and objectives with specific performance indicators, so that so it's very objective as to how things are moving along. Finally, and I don't know, this is a magic skill, they need to figure out some way to bring the council together to find common things that they all agree with, and at least maybe incrementally move forward to get at least the things that they agree together with forward in a positive manner. Not that they're gonna, obviously they're not gonna agree with everything, but at least there must be some kind of common ground where they can get together and at least agree on those types of things. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, my name is Sandy Wheeler. I'm kind of new in this town. Well, I moved here about 8 years ago, and I was attracted to this city because it was small and it had a unique type of government. Also, it has a feeling that's a little bit more relaxed than some of the other areas, Oxnard and Ventura. I'm kind of getting the feeling that there is a lack of like people, a sense of community, as far as the people they feel a little disconnected. And on that note, I just wanted to say that I have 2 little kids. I'm just a stay-at-home mom right now, and I was interested in planting flowers. For example, spring just started, and I thought that I was looking and I couldn't see any programs, local programs for, planting like a community garden. And so I wondered why that was. And I was just looking at the city pages, and I noticed how great the city is doing with tree planting. And so that to me seems like a good sign that we could develop some sort of program that would bring us together as a community, even if it's just with our kids, having planting flowers around the community, either in the parks and I just had this idea. I have a lot of established plants in my yard, and maybe a lot of other people do. If we can even contribute our own flowers, I noticed there's a lack of beautification around the city that is colorful. The trees are very nice, but so I guess a people person would probably bring us all together. And I just wanted to say I used to work in a government setting, cataloging books for a large research university, and so I do realize when there is a lack of there seems to be some dysfunction when there's a lack of communication, and maybe sometimes people don't understand what brings people together. But what I have found is that at this particular library, they would hold these meetings that would tell people how to present change, to if they want something to change, to appropriately address their leaders, and how to make that work, with language and action, basically, in a practical format. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, but so that's all I had to say. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Mr. Avery, I forgot to mention 2 important things. Would it be okay if I?
Please, you have 30 seconds.
Fill this time? Sorry. One of the things that I think would help with bringing the community together is that the next city manager would be an advocate, a promoter of wellness, and to focus on wellness activities in the city, because there's a number of them going on right now without any help. And I think that could be an area that the city could develop. And the other most important thing I thought, that I forgot to mention, was I would hope that the city manager could be somebody from Ventura County, somebody from the beach community in this area, somebody that knows this area, knows the base, knows the Navy, knows Point Mugu, the difference between Oxnard and Port Hueneme, and Silver Strand and Port Hueneme, the Port Hueneme and not the city of Port Hueneme. So I think that would be really helpful in finding a really energetic, great city manager like everyone else has said. Thank you.
Good evening. Sorry for coming here late. Danny Carrillo, the Interim Regional Director for SEIU 721. I think one of my colleagues has already spoken, but I just want to reiterate, if I'm repeating myself, that we want a city manager that is going to work well with city staff. In both negotiations and maybe some joint labor management meetings, we've come come up with some suggestions to how to make the city run more efficiently. So we want a city manager that has experience in working with labor and has an open mind, and it's not necessarily their way or the highway. The days of old of labor unions fighting and pushing and asking for things that are unrealistic, we realize that we have to work together. And so we want to be able to do that both with current administration and the new person that you bring in forward. You have a lot of experienced workers here in the city that we represent, and they have a lot to offer. So we just want somebody that is open and welcoming of the suggestions that they have to help, again, the productivity and the efficiency of how the city's run. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, if there is no one else, I would like to thank you all for being here. I've been to more than a few of these meetings. Your comments were well thought out and well expressed. And you will be seeing, as we put together the profile, that they will be taken into serious account because they were very useful, and I found it very helpful in terms of understanding this community and therefore what I'm looking for the next city manager. Once again, we will set up a dedicated email. It goes to my office. We'll get that on the city website. Anything else that comes to mind, shoot us a note, and we will take that into account. We'll read it. For that matter, my email address is on our website as well, and we'll give you access to that if you want to talk directly to me. Although I'll be reviewing the stuff that comes in through the dedicated email. Okay, thank you.